In the 1830s, Baltimore, Ohio was building their main line west from Baltimore. And in 1835, they also completed a line from Baltimore to Washington. And that was Washington's first and only railroad service for years, which meant that to get to Washington by railroad from the west, a person had to travel to or nearly to Baltimore at a junction called Relay, and then about 30 miles southwest down to Washington. In 1853, a group started to build a railroad from Georgetown through Montgomery County, but it didn't get very far. And in 1857, they finally had to give up for lack of funding. And soon afterward came the Civil War. But after the Civil War, B&O decided that they needed to build a line west from Washington, and they were able to obtain the charter of that never-built railroad, which was called the Metropolitan Railroad. So that charter and that name became the basis for what B&O called its Metropolitan Branch. A little bit more than 42-mile line that ran from downtown Washington to Point of Rocks, where it joined their old main line that went to Baltimore. It was this railroad that is what really started the transformation of Montgomery County to what it is today, with the bringing of business and suburban population growth all over the line. And we still have quite a bit of Metropolitan Branch heritage today. And in fact, the towns of Kensington, Garrett Park, and Boyd's and Tacoma Park were created because of the Metropolitan Branch. While the railroad was responsible for the formation of several towns along the line, there were a few existing towns, in particular Gaithersburg and Germantown, that changed quite a bit because of the railroad. Their town centers were not located where the railroad came through, but after the railroad came through, they decided that's where the future was. So they moved their businesses, and so where the railroad runs through the center of Gaithersburg now and Germantown, that's where the new town centers came, with business and population growing around those locations.